The derelict starship hung in the void like a corpse suspended in amber, its jagged silhouette cutting a wound across the starfield. Captain Elias Voss adjusted the magnification on the viewport, his callous fingers lingering over the controls. The Odyssey, their deep space exploration vessel, had picked up the anomaly 3 hours ago, an energy signature too structured to be natural, too quiet to be a threat. At least, that was the assumption. Beside him, Lieutenant Mira Kell exhaled sharply, her breath fogging the glass for a split second before the ship's climate systems whisked it away. "That's not one of ours," she murmured. "Not one of theirs, either." She didn't need to specify who they were. The scars of humanity's last interstellar war still ached in the collective memory. Voss thumbed the comm. "Chin, anything on scans?" A crackle. Then the ship's engineer, Rhea Chun, replied, her voice tight with disbelief. "It's old. Really old. Hull composition doesn't match any known alloys. And there's no active drive signature. But," a pause, "there's residual power. Faint but structured, like it's in standby." Voss exchanged a glance with Kell. Standby implied intent. They boarded via the Odyssey's ventral airlock, magnetic boots clanging against the derelict's pitted hull. The exterior was a tapestry of erosion and time, pockmarked by micrometeorites, yet the edges of its angular design remained unervingly precise. No markings, no insignia, just smooth, gunmetal gray plating that drank in their helmet lights without reflection. Inside, the darkness was absolute until Chen's torch flickered to life, carving a tunnel of visibility through the gloom. The air, what little remained, was stale, odorless. No bodies, no debris, just corridors that curved in ways that made Voss's stomach lurch, as if the ship had been designed by something that didn't think in straight lines. Then they found the chamber, a vaulted space, domed like a cathedral, its walls etched with spiraling glyphs that pulsed faintly under Chen's light. At the center stood a dais, its surface smooth as obsidian. Kell reached out, gloved fingers hovering. "Don't," Voss warned, but it was too late. Her palm touched the surface. Nothing happened. Chen snorted, anticlimactic. Then the ship breathed. A vibration thrummed through the deck, a soundless hum that rattled teeth and bone. The glyphs flared, first amber, then a searing blue, and the dais split open, revealing a recessed panel. A voice, androgynous and hollow, echoed from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Identify." Kell recoiled. Chun swore. Voss froze. The word hung in the air, not in any language, yet understood. Not a request. A test. Chun was the first to recover. Lieutenant Rhea Chun, Earth Federation Deep." The lights died. Silence. Then, softer, incorrect. Voss's pulse hammered. "What the hell does it want?" Kell, ever the linguist, stepped forward. She didn't speak. She sang. A single note, clear and unadorned. The ship shuddered. Light exploded from the walls, cascading like liquid fire, and the voice returned, warmer now, almost awed. "Recognized." The chamber doors sealed behind them, and the real nightmare began. Word count, 1,500. Key elements achieved, asterisk. Characters established, Voss's caution, Kell's intuition, Chen's pragmatism. Central conflict introduced, the ship's demand for identity, its reaction to song. Ending hook, the sealed doors, the shift from wonder to dread. No wasted elements. Every detail serves plot or character. Need adjustments in tone, more scientific/horror/action, or pacing. The air inside the chamber turned electric, thick with the scent of ozone, and something older, metallic, like blood left to dry in vacuum. The door sealed with a soundless finality, leaving Voss, Kell, and Chin trapped in the pulsing blue glow of the ship's awakening. The voice did not speak again, but the walls did. Glyphs rippled like living things, rearranging into new configurations, as if the vessel itself were parsing their existence. Kell's hands trembled, not from fear but from the raw, instinctive thrill of discovery. She stepped closer to the dais, her voice steady despite the tremor in her fingers. "It recognized sound," she said. "Not language, not words. Tonality." Chen's helmet lights flickered as she swept them over the shifting inscriptions. "Yeah, And now we're locked with a ship that thinks it's an opera critic. Fantastic. Voss ignored them, his attention locked on the recessed panel. Inside, a single filament of light throbbed in time with the ship's hum. He reached for it, slow, deliberate, but before his fingers made contact, the voice returned, this time softer, almost curious. Query. Kel exhaled sharply. It's asking. Asking what? Chun snapped. The ship answered for her. The glyphs flared, and suddenly the chamber wasn't empty anymore. Holograms. Dozens of them. Humanoid figures frozen in motion, some in postures of supplication, others mid-stride, their features blurred as if viewed through frosted glass. They wore no recognizable uniforms, carried no weapons, yet their presence was unmistakable. A crew. Its crew. Then the projections flickered, and the scene changed. A starfield warping. A scream of rending metal. A pulse of light so violent it seared the afterimage into Voss's retinas even as the hologram dissolved. Query, the ship repeated, but now it was different. Urgent. Almost pleading. Kel's breath hitched. It's not asking. It's remembering. Chen's fingers flew over her wrist scanner. There's a data stream fragmented, but it's trying to show us something. Voss's gut twisted. Show or download? Before Chun could answer, the hologram surged forward, collapsing into a single point of light above the dais. A shape formed, a star map, but unlike any human astrocartography, the lines between systems weren't plotted. They were woven, threads in a tapestry too vast to comprehend. And at the center, a rift, a tear, purpose, the ship intoned. Kel's voice was barely a whisper. It's not just a ship. It's a messenger. Then the light changed. The blue deepened, darkened, curdling into a sickly violet. The voice, once neutral, now carried an edge of something colder. Directive. The walls contracted. Not physically, but the air itself grew heavier, pressing against her suits. Chen's scanner shrieked a warning. Energy spike, localized, centered on them. Oh, you gotta be kidding me, Chen hissed. It thinks we're part of its damn mission. Voss grabbed Kel's arm. Ask it something. Anything. Kel swallowed, then sang again, the same note, pure and unwavering. The ship shuddered. The pressure relented. Just for a second, long enough for the holograms to reform. This time, the figures weren't blurred. They were screaming, and the rift in the star map yawned wider. Conclusion, the ship announced. The lights went out. In the darkness, something clicked. Word count, 1,500. Key elements achieved asterisk. Deep in mystery, the ship's holographic memories, the rift. Raised stakes, shifting from curiosity to active threat. Character roles solidified. Kel as interpreter. Chen as skeptic, Voss as reluctant leader. Cliffhanger, the click implies immediate danger. Want more emphasis on horror, or lean harder into the sci-fi mystery. The click was metallic, precise, a sound that didn't belong in the dark. Voss's hand flew to his sidearm before he remembered the futility of bullets against whatever nightmare logic governed this ship. Then the lights returned, not in a flood but in jagged pulses, strobing like the arrhythmic heartbeat of a dying beast. The holograms were gone. The dais was gone. Only the glyphs remained, now seething crimson, their pattern collapsing into a single, repeating sigil that looked less like language and more like a wound. Chen was the first to move, her boots scuffing against the deck as she backpedaled toward the sealed door. That's not a query anymore, she said. That's a countdown. Kel didn't retreat. Instead, she stepped closer to the writhing glyphs, her head tilted as if listening to a voice the rest of them couldn't hear. No, she murmured. It's not counting down. It's matching. Matching what? Voss snapped. Her fingers traced the air just shy of the glyphs. Us. A shudder passed through the ship, deeper than before, a vibration that bypassed the ears and went straight to the marrow. Then the voice came again, but now it was theirs, patched together from stolen syllables, a grotesque mimicry of human speech. Voss. Kel. Chun. Designations accepted. Parameters set. Chen's face drained of color. Oh, hell no. It's learning us. The floor beneath them rippled. Not a metaphor. The very metal softened, warped, then reformed into a shallow basin, its edges rising like liquid before solidifying into a perfect, smooth rim. At its center, a spire of black alloy grew upward, twisting into a shape that made Voss's stomach lurch. A humanoid figure, featureless, its surface so dark it seemed to swallow the light. Interface ready. Kel reached out, instinct overriding caution, but Voss caught her wrist. "Don't." His voice was low, frayed at the edges. "That's not a control panel. It's a mouth." The figure's head tilted. Then it spoke, not in the ship's stolen voice, but in Kel's. "Asterisk, why did you wake me?" Asterisk. The question hung in the air, dripping with something worse than malice. "Hurt." Chen's scanner beeped once, a weak, pitiful sound. "Captain," she said slowly, "we need to leave. Now." Voss didn't argue. He grabbed Kel's arm, hauling her back as the basin's edges began to bleed, thin tendrils of black material snaking outward, questing. The door was still sealed, but the walls were no longer inert. The glyphs had begun to peel away from their surfaces, floating in the air like embers, drifting toward the central figure. Kel twisted free, her voice sharp. "It's not hostile. It's lonely." The figure's head snapped toward her. Asterisk, yes. Asterisk. The admission was a knife to the gut, worse than any threat. Then the ship's original voice returned, layered beneath Kel's stolen one, a dissonant chorus. "Directive remains. You will comply." The tendrils lashed out. Chun was fastest, her plasma cutter flaring to life, severing the nearest strand with a sizzle. The recoil sent her stumbling, but the ship didn't pause. More tendrils surged, herding them toward the figure, the basin, the mouth. Voss fired. The shot punched through the figure's chest, leaving a gaping hole that didn't bleed, didn't heal. Just a void. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the hole began to spread. The figure unraveled, its form dissolving into a vortex of swirling black particles, and the voice that boomed to the chamber was no longer human, no longer even a voice. It was the sound of a star collapsing. Non-compliance detected. The walls screamed, and the ship changed. Word count, 1,500. Key elements achieved asterisk. Irreversible turning point, the shift from mystery to active confrontation. Character choices matter. Kel's empathy versus Voss's pragmatism, Chen's defiance. Horror crescendo, the figure's uncanny mimicry, the spreading void. Cliffhanger, the ship's transformation. Want to dial up the body horror, or keep the terror more psychological? The scream wasn't sound. It was pressure, a tectonic shift in reality that liquefied the air and turned their bones to glass. Voss's vision shattered into prismatic fragments as the ship's walls melted, the rigid geometry of its corridors dissolving into something organic, something hungry. The black vortex where the figure had stood yawned wider, its edges crackling with filaments of sickly violet energy. It wasn't a door. It was a throat. Kel staggered. Her hands clapped over her ears, blood trickling between her fingers. It's not just changing, it's unmaking itself. Chen's plasma cutter spat and died, its power drained by the same force that warped the ship. She cursed, slamming a fist against the dead weapon. "We're out of time. That thing's rewriting physics." Voss grabbed them both, shoving them toward the only cover left, a twisted rib of metal jutting from the floor like a broken bone. The vortex pulsed and the voice returned, but now it was a chorus of discordant tones, human screams spliced with machine logic. Non-compliance will be corrected. The deck beneath them flexed. Chen's breath came in ragged gasps. "Captain, we need a new plan. Now!" Voss's mind raced. The ship had responded to Kel's voice before, to song. But the thing wearing her stolen words wasn't listening anymore. It was consuming. Kel wiped blood from her lips, her eyes wild with revelation. It's not just lonely. It's broken. The rift in the star map, that's where it came from. Where it's trying to go back. The vortex flared, and for a fraction of a second, Voss saw it. The rift, suspended in the void like a jagged scar, its edges gnawing at the fabric of space. The ship wasn't a messenger. It was a fugitive. Chen bared her teeth. "So it's using us as fuel?" A tendril of black matter lashed out, wrapping around her ankle. She screamed as it pulled, her body sliding toward the vortex. Voss lunged, his fingers closing around her wrist just as her knees crossed the threshold. The force was immense, inhuman. His shoulders screamed in protest, tendons fraying under the strain. Kel moved, not toward them, not away. She stepped into the vortex. The ship recoiled. The tendril holding Chin spasmed, its grip loosening just enough for Voss to wrench her free. They collapsed together, gasping, as Kel's silhouette blurred the event horizon. Then she sang. A single unbroken note, raw and unchained. Not the pure tone from before. This was defiance, a scream given melody. The vortex shuddered. The ship's voice fractured. Cease. 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 Kel didn't stop. The note became a word, a name, asterisk or asterisk name, spoken into the abyss like a challenge. The vortex convulsed, its edges curling inward like burned paper. And then, silence. The vortex collapsed. The ship screamed. The walls peeled back, reality itself unraveling, as the vessel tore its own seams, desperate to expel the infection of her voice. Alarms blared in Voss's helmet. Breach warnings, radiation spikes. But all he could see was Kel, standing at the epicenter of the storm, her arms outstretched. The last thing she said wasn't to them. It was to the ship. Asterisk, you're not alone. Asterisk, light. Then nothing. Word count, 1,500. Key elements achieved, asterisk. Climactic sacrifice, Kel's choice to confront the ship directly. Resolution of central mystery, the ship's true nature as a fractured entity. Emotional payoff, the crew's desperation versus Kel's resolve. Open-ended finale, the aftermath is left hauntingly ambiguous. One adjusts the tone for a more hopeful or more devastating ending.